Mother Ostankya is a woman of many talents. So we're going to see how well she can command a tactical stealth army and use it to make her way through her campaign. Using some of the new sneaky Kislev units, we'll see what kind of tactical genius we can muster. Starting up in the Nagorod area, we've got a fairly solid army to start with some of these new units. And the goal of this campaign is to work your way through unlocking all the hexes. This one is probably the most fun because it allows you to teleport around the world. So skipping on through the boring early stuff, we smash the first army, we take the first settlement, push on to take the first province. There is a tough army to deal with at Arnheim though, my capital settlement. This is actually a pretty tough battle. I'm not able to be very stealthy because I don't really have the stealth army yet. And although we do take a fair pounding, we do get the victory and then push on to the final settlement and boom, first province is ours. I now start to make my way towards Marathi because she's an elf and she's gotta go. I am now able to recruit ambushers though, so they're going to be a key component of the army. Marathi though, not liking my elf comments, declares war on me and then attacks me. But typical elf IQ, she's attacked me when I'm stood next to a beastmen army that she's at war with. Because they hate elves too. Coming into this battle, I followed Sun Tzu's advice of subdue the enemy without fighting. Without fighting. So I did what any great general of history did. I hid in the forest and let the beastmen take care of it. I used Nan to lure the enemy army over to where the beastmen would be reinforcing, and then just pretty much let them go at it. They had some strong units in this army, they had some witch elves, they had some shades, a lot of dark shards in there as well, so I wasn't entirely confident the beastmen would be able to beat the dark elves, but they'd at least be able to beat them up a little bit and save me some damage. But I did start to use my stealthy army a little bit, moving up and starting to fire some missiles from the trees, just to help ensure the beastmen's victory. And they put up a valiant effort, they got some good work done, those goatee men. I did send in my bats to try and help them out to stop them getting shot up so much. And Ostankya was always charging around, dropping off her ranged attacks, spells, everything where possible. I even gave the beastmen a little heal, because I'm such a goddamn great guy. Winning the battle for me is the least I could do. And with all of that, I was able to beat the Dark Elves through my military prowess of not fighting. From here, I wanted to push on and take this settlement, but there were two armies there which I couldn't deal with until the next turn when one of them went away. The beastmen were still stood next to me, so they didn't come after me. For this battle, though, I was stuck on a big open plain where I couldn't really do anything stealthy, so I just had to blast them all to pieces. So that gave me the settlement, but I lost our beloved hag witch, Talikakoshka. Taking one of the settlements in the region, though, I can now purify it with the purifying chant, which makes it go from this ugly pink to this glorious green and slightly browny, ugly-looking color. But now I can start to push on to try and take the rest of this province, which means taking out the other army that's just up north. I set up an ambush to try to get them, but they weren't interested, so I headed back home to recruit some more boys, and left my new settlement undefended. Oh no, what might happen if I do not defend it? There we go, there's that elf IQ striking again. So we baited them straight out of their city and straight into my slaughter. I am going to auto-resolve this, although apparently it's going to cost me spiders. But a few dead spiders for 2,000 dead elves, that is a deal I will make every single time. With the Dark Elf armies out the way, I push up to the ancient city of Quintex, and after a few turns of besieging, I claim it as my own. The elves, though furious that they lack my military prowess, lash out and attack the settlement I just took, but they only sack it instead of taking it. So on the next turn, I rush down to defend it, and just to replenish there and recruit some stuff, because I lost a few units in the Quintex battle. I get myself some things in the woods and the regiment of renowned Akshina Rangers. I've also got myself a new Hag Witch of Death this time, who is going to be very important for my stealthy plans. I'll show you in a second. But I then push on to take the last two settlements in this region, and that is another province in the bag. Over the next turns, I try to set up an ambush for a couple of nearby Marathi armies, which of course fails. But we still get an opportunity here to use our stealthy powers. And the reason that a Hag Witch is so important to stealthy powers is because of this little skill point right here, Wild Keeper. This gives stalk to things in the woods and incarnate elemental of beasts, which is definitely going to make them more stealthy. I start off by sending in the old ladies to draw the enemy army in, getting them to follow them. It is a lot of cavalry in this army, so we've got to be a little bit careful. But with the stealth army comes stealthy plans, as my Akshina ambushers line the trees, and also some Kossars as well, who aren't very stealthy, but they'll do for now. I've got my Akshina supported by the things in the wood, and as the cavalry starts to come into range, the cavalry starts to die. The armor-piercing missiles of the Akshina boys, very strong, takes down this light cav with no problem at all. The Kossars, pretending that they're Akshina warriors, are doing pretty much the same job, not quite as well. Their missiles aren't quite as strong, but they're blasting away at all the stuff that the Hag Witch has drawn towards them. I have the things in the wood just behind the Akshina warriors, so if any cavalry comes in and engages, forward they come and deal with them. And then when the enemy army was in pretty bad shape, I would send out the things in the woods as if from nowhere to go and try and finish everything off, and it worked a goddamn treat. I tried my hardest to get rid of Marathi. I had the big incarnate boy go after her, but he seemed a little distracted half the time, so she does manage to survive, but most of the army didn't, and our stealthy army plans have come off pretty nicely. All the Akshina warriors doing well, getting somewhere between 800 and 1400 damage done, very nice. This then allows me to move on to the settlement of Iron Spike, which they own, which I am going to raise to the ground, because I wish actually for the Lizardmen to take it, because I want to get them as an ally. Marathi, though, on the next turn comes asking for peace, which I take because I figure we're done with her, right? She's learned her lesson, she won't be a problem anymore. There's some rats around, I get rid of them to clear the way for the Lizardmen to come and take these two places, because they've got the other two settlements of this province. Fighting these rats, though, I've managed to get a new trinket for my witch hut, which is where I can make all these different charms to put on units before the battles. So that made attacking those rats worthwhile until they showed up in my lands and were looking like they were going to cause some trouble. So, of course, old Lady Stanky ran after them, shaking her fist and told them to fuck right off. They retreated and then subsequently disappeared forever, seemingly. Now that I've got a little bit of peace and quiet, I can now do the Coven's Curse Mark quest to unlock this hex, which, funnily enough, is against some more damn dirty rats. With this battle, you start in between the two rat armies, with them pincering in on you. The smaller force to the right, I sent Ostankya to try and slow down, and then had Kossars and stuff, missiles coming in just to try and take him down. Over the other side, there was a Plague Claw catapult, which could only be beaten by one powerful tactic, Polar Bear. I had bears coming in on the other side as well, but Nurgle units started to arrive. There was a bunch of great unclean ones around. There were plague bearers everywhere. There was suddenly a lot to deal with. Back on the far side, though, things were pretty much cleaned up. Ostankya and the Incarnate and the Kossar missiles had got rid of everything that came from this direction. There was some tough units in here, some sensor bearers, but they are pretty much no more. The biggest trouble of the other side was the Great Unclean Ones, because there was 3 of them. One of them was the Lord. There was a War Shrine as well. From the other side, with Mother Ostankya, there was a whole bunch of Nurglings that came along. Luckily, we were Kislevites. We had some of the hardest, toughest, baddest bastards in the land. Look at these boys. They're not messing around. They ain't afraid of no goddamn Great Unclean Ones. They stand in the face of all evil with no fear at all.
Run away! Turn yourself, lads! Run, Phil, run!
Fuck's sake. Luckily, we still had polar bears to do the jobs that were needed. They are anti-large, so they were good for taking down those big boys. The Incarnate's playing in the ball pit, and the Akshina boys are gunning everything down as much as possible, supporting all the melee troops, making short work of the Great Unclean Ones in the end, and getting this battle done not too shabby. With that, the quest is complete, and we've now unlocked the second hex and a new material for the Witch's Hut from fighting the Nurgle boys, which allows us more trinkets to make. Now, with a little persuasion, 8 grand's worth of persuasion, I'm able to get a non-aggression pact with the Lizardmen, so I can start building a relationship with them. They've taken the 2 settlements I was hoping that they would take, but guess who's come back to be a pain in my ass? It's Marathi again. She's declared war on me. This is what I get for being nice and not finishing her off, I guess, but she's got 2 stacks here I'm going to have to deal with. So I set up a little 78% ambush, and finally, I'm actually able to get a hold of her and properly ambush her with my sneaky stealth boy army. Now, as they march their way through the mountains, my boys are of course in the trees once again. I say boys, there's just these black noses running across the field. I'm not sure what's going on here, must be a glitch. I turn my things in the woods to the things out of the woods and bring up my ambushers to the edge of the forest to do some supporting while all the melee troops get in there. I've also got some more ambushers just up on the hill. They've got stalk, of course, so they can't be seen. They can just fire away. They can snipe, at least until Marathi comes over anyway. But for the most part, we're just surrounding, blasting from all directions, getting in the big, heavy, monstrous infantry. And it's just an absolute massacre. Got the Regiment of Renowned things in the woods here as well. They do a lot of damage, very strong. And that is another Marathi army popped in the bin. Now we need to go and actually goddamn finish her off. So I start moving on her settlement. Ice Rock Gorge, gonna be mine. There is another army right next to it, but I'm gonna use the Coven's Curse Mark Hex, which is gonna reduce that movement range by 50%, which means there's no running away for that army, which can only mean one thing: death. This then freed us up to push on to the next settlement, the Plain of Dogs, but I am gonna besiege it for a few turns to try and make this battle a little more comfy. I then chat with a bunch of racist lizards and try to get them to come to war with Marathi as well, just so that they can maybe push her from the other side. But hey, they come out to fight me. It's predicted a Pyrrhic victory. I don't really want a war to resolve because I'm going to lose some good units. I do fight this, but it's not a great map for being stealthy or anything, so I'm just going to skip this battle. And after I lay waste to their armies, I'm able to get a nice decisive victory, and then we have secured another province. I do have a second army just defending, full of Kossars, which I do plan to try and come around and get after Marathi with, but I can't get the military access with the Lizardmen, so I'm going to leave that for now, not to sour our relationship. Coming through these other 2 settlements, though, it's easy take-ins, and that is the end of Marathi. However, I do choose to occupy these 2 settlements, but only so that I can sell them on or trade them away to the Lizardmen to basically make them be friends with me. So that's going to get me my defensive alliance with the Lizardmen. Always good to have a big, strong faction on your side. My south is now pretty much secure. I don't have to worry about that at all. Because of our alliance with Lizardmen, we also get some horns to use in our witch hut as well. Now that we once again have peace and quiet, we can go on to do another hex battle because we've unlocked it, able to do this one for the 3rd hex, and I cannot believe my luck as I get to kill more elves. This is fantastic. Although I do have to ally with some elves in the process, but they're more of kind of tree people than elves, right? It's Striker. I've got to work with her to beat this wood elf army, and I can't let her die. That's the other thing. I have to keep her army alive. Although I keep saying it's Striker, it's not technically Striker. It's just an army that looks and feels like Striker. I flank around to offer a cure for elfism. It's called bears. Big fucking bears. We'll smack the elf right out of them. This battle does turn into a big mishmash of mess because there's an AI army in there and they're all over the place. The enemy AI army is all over the place. But I've sent in the bears. I've got the missiles firing away. Ostankya and the hag are doing their work. The AI army is getting in there as well. Little tree man on tree man action. Oh, I think one of them's died of emotional damage. It was too much for him. Elf IQ strikes again as they send birds to try and take down bears. I'm pretty sure that's a fight the bears have never lost in the animal kingdom. All in all, elves are running scared. It's a good day. This battle is done. With that, we've unlocked the 3rd hex we were trying to get to, and we've got the short victory objectives done. Who knew? We can also now make this trinket, which allows us to summon an elemental bear. I think that came from fighting the wood elves, but it looks like you have to sacrifice the unit you put it on in the process. Interesting. So with that, we've unlocked the 3rd hex we were trying to get to. I can now teleport to all of these different places in the world, and this is a really cool feature of this campaign that allows you to move around a lot. I tried coming over here to Kislev to see if there was anywhere good to settle down and join my Kislev family in Kislev, but it looks like Kislev are controlling most of Kislev, so there's no point being in Kislev anymore. So I decided to head over to Orion's camp, which is down in the desert with the Tomb Kings area, but there's vampires everywhere down here, vampire corruption, and oh look, 4 stacks of vampires. I don't think this is where I should be anymore. So instead I decided to take a trip over to the jungles of Cathay and Xi'an, see if there's anything interesting to do. Maybe I can take out Clan Eshin, maybe they're a problem, but nope. Looks like the Order Tide is won over in Cathay. It's all Cathay controlled. So I decided to just finish this with a good old quest battle. We got the Crown of Claws. That's Mother Ostankya's quest battle, so let's go ahead and try that out. Turns out it's against a bunch of small Dark Elf beastie armies. Now there's nowhere to be stealthy on this map, so I'm just going to try and take some of these little high points, these firing platforms. The enemy armies are going to come at me in kind of small chunks though, which makes it really easy to deal with. We just blast them down with missiles. There's not really any threat to us. Eventually they do start to pour on a little thicker and we get a little bit more going on. There's a little clump of bears. I managed to kill one of the lords. One of the things about this battle though as well is that if you kill the lord of one of the little armies, the entire army just routs and goes away. I've also got Pack Trap, which I put on these bears so they can't move. They're just now getting shot to pieces. That's a very strong ability from the Regiment of Renown Akshina boys. I also came into the recruitment of Ulrika Magdova. She's going to try and take down this frostworm that's coming. There's also some mammoths and stuff around that's all come in, but because when you kill the lords, it routes everything off, it's kind of easy. I just dropped that Pack Trap again. I'm going to blast away with all my missiles. Oh no, wait, there's one dog stopping them. Okay, now there's a chariot. But either way, doesn't make a difference. This frostworm is going in the bin. And that's the end of this quest battle. It was a little disappointingly easy, but hey, maybe my stealth army and all the missiles are just a bit too strong for this. Although a lot of the newer quest battles do feel much easier than older ones, I think, maybe. I'd have to try them out again. But there we go, some Mother Ostankya with her stealthy army. She had some good plays. Stealthy army is pretty fun and incredibly viable for Kislev with the buffs from the Hag Witch. Not to mention the Akshina Rangers being a very strong unit in their own right. But there we go. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Hey, you want to see Carl Franz play the game like he's a Mongol? Here we go. Thanks to all the patrons who support this channel. I will see you in the future.